Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning into today's IEEE USA webinar, How to Lead Your Remote Teams More Effectively, presented by Scott Waldron, Brand and Communication Strategist. Before we begin, we'll have Scott tell us a little bit about himself.
Hi, everybody. It is great to be here again. This is the second time that I have been invited to do a webinar with you, and I'm super stoked to be here. The first one went well, so I guess that's why they had me back again, which is awesome. So I'm really happy and thankful for IEEE for having me back. So thank you. Today, we have a little bit of a relevant topic to talk about. It's about remote work and remote teams and really about leading those remote teams effectively, right? And we've been hearing a lot about remote work, right? COVID happened and companies that had been remote for years are like, yeah, this is just what we've been doing, right? But there's always ways to improve. Teams that have never been remote were a little bit freaking out, right? They're a little panicky and had to learn new ways of communicating effectively in order to get the job done. So really, this presentation is one that I gave before COVID happened and that I'm going to continue to give long after COVID is gone, because remote work was here before and it's here now and it's not going anywhere. We all need to learn to communicate effectively, and that's what this presentation is going to help add a little bit of insight into how we can do that. So I'm Scott Waldron, Scott with a K. I rebranded myself in 6th grade when I got sick of being in the same class with Scott Wilson and Scott Woodruff, and I had to put my last name on every paper, and I was like, this is insane. So I spelled it S-K-O-T. I never had to put my last name on anything ever again. So laziness, brilliance, whatever you want to call it, that's what happened. And it just stuck. I was the artsy fartsy kid in school, and it just kind of stuck with that. So through my career, I've worked over the past 18 or so years. I've worked with multiple companies in various capacities, doing external marketing, brand development, graphic design work, but also doing a lot of what I call internal brand development. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, brand strategy, positioning, communication, effectiveness, values, mission, vision, purpose, and message development. And how do we create a very healthy environment with our employees, with our team members, with our leadership, in order to make sure that we're healthy on the inside so we can be healthy on the outside. I also do a lot of speaking. I've been doing a lot of webinars lately, and I do teaching. I teach brand strategy at the Miami Ad School here in Atlanta. And I have worked with over 100 plus clients on this type of work and in various capacities, like I said. So it's been super fulfilling and super fun. And I've gotten a lot of different experience with a lot of different industries, which has really helped me understand, what different people bring to the table, and also how I, as an outsider, can bring value to you, right? It's not always about finding the exact people that do the exact thing that you do all the time. It's about bringing outside perspectives. I had a quote last week where I said, it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar, right? Meaning we have to step out of that jar sometimes to really understand what's going on, to really understand what people are trying to say and how to connect with others. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to scottwaldron.com. I'm also on Instagram. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me there, I would love to connect. Send me a message, direct message, whatever, and we can have a conversation. Okay, let's move forward with this word, brand. What is brand? It is not your logo. It is not your color palette. It is not your fonts. It is not any of that stuff, okay? Your brand is, in essence, what people say about you when you're not around. Your brand is your reputation. Okay. Every one of us has a brand. We have a personal brand that when we go to lunch with somebody, they're forming an opinion about us, right? And we leave and they go home at night and they say, man, I went to lunch with this guy. He was crazy. Or I went to lunch with this guy. He was hilarious. Or I went to this lunch with this guy. He was blank. That is your brand being formed in the mind of that person. And every interaction you have is either going to help or hurt that brand. That's what a brand first mentality is all about. A brand first mentality says this: how would this next thing I do affect my overall brand image? How will this next handshake, this next conversation, this next phone call, this next social media post, this next team meeting, this next strategy, whatever it is, how will that thing affect my overall brand image? Is it going to help it or is it going to hurt it? We have seen a ton of this happening lately. Now, what I said earlier, right? I came from the graphic design kind of marketing background world. I can speak to that really, really well. I can also speak to the internal side. What is your internal brand? Is what your employees are saying about you or your company when you're not around. What your employees are saying. A lot of people talk about this as employer branding, right? Or they talk about this in the sense of Glassdoor, right? Those types of things that will shape your perception and opinions about your organization when you're not there. External brand is what are your customers and clients saying about you or your company when you're not around? That's the outside perception of your brand. Now, my belief is that you need to have alignment with your internal and your external. Is the external perception in line with what you are internally? Is your internal value system, belief system, your vision, your message, what your employees are there for, is that getting translated to the external in a way that causes them to believe who you are and what you do and want to be a part of that? This happened. This is coronavirus. Coronavirus happened in March. And then we had this happen. Black Lives Matter movement happened. And these two things in such a short period of time have really made an impact on the brands of corporations and associations and different people in our society. The way that companies have responded to coronavirus and the way that companies have responded to the Black Lives Matter movement has shaped perceptions in a quick, very fast, impactful time, right? Our opinions of certain companies, certain CEOs, certain reactions, politicians, whoever has either gone up or gone down in these last 3 to 4 months based on how they have handled and addressed these things. We see a lot of reactionary things happening, right? It's like, oh, wait a second, we need to go ahead and send out a press release to make sure that people know that we're inclusive. What? Like, shouldn't people already know you're inclusive? Shouldn't your internal organization already understand that you're inclusive? Like, that should have been something that was already ingrained in your culture. When people went remote to start working because of coronavirus, people should have already been treated well, right? They should have already understood that, yeah, this is fine. Like, we're going to make it because my organization believes in me, okay, and supports me. Our brand is shaped by how we communicate with our internal audience and our external audience. We have to take care of that reputation. That is the intersection I want to talk about, the internal and the external brand. Those are the things. That's where I live. That's my jam, right? I've got an assessment. If you go to scottwaldron.com, you can find an internal brand assessment there. It's going to help you about company culture. It's about 20 questions. It's a free resource there. You can take it for free. You don't have to put your email in unless you want the results, and then you can take that. Somebody has said, I never thought about our company having an internal brand. The assessment asked some really good questions that really made me think. I know we have some things to work on, and it's more clear now. So you can have different people in the organization take that, see where there's gaps, and work on those. I also have something, an external brand assessment, that will go into more about your external exposure and reputation and alignment. And somebody else had said this external brand assessment gave me something to think about when it comes to how customers perceive us. The questions helped me give labels to things I needed to help market my business more effectively for the long term. So some people are like, yeah, we got a brand. I don't really know how to define it, but I know we have one. And I don't really know how to shape it. It's just there. It's like, no, you have control, right? You have the power to shape that message and what that is. So on the left side, we've got company culture, employee engagement. On the right side, we've got customer message and customer experience. What we need to really understand and realize is that, which is usually handled by leadership and HR, and external, which is usually handled by marketing and sales, okay, need to be talking. They need to be understanding that there's one brand, okay? There's an internal and external parts of that, but there's one brand, and we need to draw alignment in there. On our internal side, the reason why we have trouble is because of these things. We have generic mission, vision, values. People are seen as a revenue source, and not that's it. There's no self-awareness of who we are as individuals, as leaders, as teams, or as a company. We have no focus. There's a lot of fear and manipulation in our organization, so people don't get things done. Or there's a lot of passive aggressiveness happening. So a lot of backbiting. You don't know how to clearly and confidently communicate who you are inside your organization. And you aren't consistent in your communication whatsoever. You treat one person different than you treat another person, and that is going to cause problems. On the external side, we treat marketing as an expense versus an investment. If we see marketing as purely an expense, we're never going to get the ROI that we really need out of marketing. We're busy with day-to-day tactics instead of focusing on strategy. We're always putting out fires. We never have a macro view. It's only a micro. Again, there's no focus, no differentiation in your product or service. Your website doesn't build trust or communicate value. You don't know how to clearly and confidently talk about your product or service to your audience, not only on the inside, but on the outside. You aren't consistent. You don't have a cohesive message that resonates with people. Those are the external problems. Now, as we proceed, Maya Angelou said this: people may not remember what you said or what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Always, okay? I'm going to walk away from an experience. I'm not always going to remember what was said or what was done, or I'm not even always going to remember 20 years later, right, what I said at my wedding or that last movie I went to. I'm not going to remember every word that happened in that movie, but I will remember how I felt. I'll remember if I liked it, if I didn't like it, if I loved that person, if I didn't love that person, if I wanted to have another experience or not. That brand impression is important. So as we get into the remote work speech, the reason why I introed that whole thing, right, about brand, internal brand, is because we dealt a lot with that with remote work, shifting to remote work, understanding remote work. On the external side, with Black Lives Matter movement, setting that up as an example, understanding that our brand is important, how we communicate that. Now, we're going to focus mostly on the internal side for this. 85% of millennials prefer working from home all the time. That's a big number. Millennials are taking on more of our workforce now. Millennials are becoming managers, directors. They're coming into the C-suite. They're moving up, and this is going to become a way of life. 30% of remote workers actually accomplish more in less time. Now, I think that also depends on if you are a working mom, single working mom with 3 kids that are suddenly home because of coronavirus. That can cause problems with this, right? But I think in general, what we're talking about before coronavirus hit and after, depending on how much help you have at home and how old your children are, that in general, we're accomplishing more in less time. And 82% of remote workers actually reported lower stress levels. And this is probably why. They spend 51% admitted they spent more time with their significant others. There's more time, there's more bonding, there's more relationship building. And 48% reported getting more sleep, less commute times, right? Things like that that are helping us be healthier. We want healthy people working with us, working for us. We want that. The healthier we are, the more successful we can be, and the more revenue we will produce for the company or the association, right? Here are a few of the work struggles that I'm going to tackle in this presentation. There are 4 of them. First of all, feeling limited. Number 2, because of remote working, we feel limited, right? We feel like there's certain things we can't do. Number 2, you can't lead everyone the same. as a leader of a team, as a leader of an organization, a company, you cannot lead everybody the same. Plants need different things they need different amounts of sun, different amounts of water, different soil, they need different care. And the plant, when you take care of it, you need to pull that little tag out that you get at Home Depot or whatever, read the instructions, take care. If you treat every plant the same, some are going to die and some are going to make it. Same with your organization. Same with the people that you are engaging with every day. You cannot treat them all the same. They need different things. We need to choose the right medium for communication, and we need to learn to manage our time effectively. So these are the 4 things I'm going to tackle in this presentation as far as remote work struggles are concerned. The first one, principle number 1, it was all about the limitations, right? I just feel like I can't do certain things. This principle is foundational in everything that we do. It is the principle of inhibition versus prohibition. Prohibition is the things we can't control, the things that are put upon us, the things that are beating us down, right? Those are the things that are going to, we're going to make excuses, right? We're going to say, oh, they said I can't do that. They said I can't go into the office. They said we can't have events. They said that we can't. It's always a they. There's always a they out there saying you can't do something. What does that create? It creates a victim mindset. It creates a passive mindset. It creates a hopeless mindset of I can't do this because they said I can't. Businesses, organizations, associations, people that have that mindset at the beginning of Corona, the COVID crisis, are suffering. And they had a really hard time at the beginning. You had others that treated it as an opportunity. They were the ones that said, we can do something. Okay. So what happens here is that we turn prohibition, these enforced restrictions on us, into inhibitions, things in our mind that say, oh, I can't do that. We're remote now. We can't do those types of things. We can't have conversations. We can't have a happy hour. We can't be we can't have an hour-long meeting because that doesn't work. Or we have to be face-to-face to have certain things. We can't sell. That's not true. Right? We have to reinvent the way we do things. We have to reprocess, re-strategize, reimagine what things could be in our new situation. Okay? This isn't going away. Let's strategically think about how we can shape the future of teams, the future of who we are, and take what we think is a prohibition and not make it an inhibition. Okay? There are prohibitions out there. Coronavirus is a prohibition, but be careful not to make it an inhibition to where it paralyzes you into not doing anything at all. Principle number 2, we can't lead everyone the same, right? Remember I told you the plants? We cannot take care of every plant the same. Some need more shade than others, okay? And if we don't take care of it the way it should be taken care of, it will die. We have to understand that not everybody thinks like us. I know that that is mind-blowing to some of you out there. Not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody communicates like you. Not everybody needs the things you need. You're like, well, I would love it if somebody talked to me that way. Okay, that's you. Not everybody wants to be talked to that way, okay? What we need to understand is that everybody needs something different. And I'm going to teach you about this idea of 5 voices. This is something that's actually a longer program that I teach, but I'm going to give you a high-level view of 5 voices. 5 voices is it's more of a personality type assessment, like Myers-Briggs, like the Enneagram, like the Colby, like Strengths Finders, things like that, right? A lot of you know DISC. I think DISC is a little bit different. It talks more about your tactics and your skills and how to place you. Myers-Briggs and 5 voices are more about the personality side, communication side. How do we all relate and sympathize with other people so we can communicate effectively? So I'm going to talk through this a little bit. This 5 voices is taken all from the science of Myers-Briggs. The problem with Myers-Briggs and all those other assessments, in my opinion, is that they're hard to implement. It's hard for me to go, okay, I'm an INTP and you're an ENFJ, and that means I need to treat you this way based on that. And then Janice over there is like, that's the problem. It's complicated and technical. The guys at Giant, the ones who created this 5 Voices program, were all about saying, hey, what if we could create something that a 13-year-old could teach and implement? They boiled all the science down in 5 voices. They're very easy to implement, very sticky language, things that you can replicate and share, okay? The vernacular, the tools, the visual systems, everything that gets taught is easy, okay? Easy to implement. So I'm going to walk through this with you. Nurturers, and you might be able to identify who you are here. Nurturers, they are the quietest ones in the bunch, and you'll see the decibel levels as you go up. I'm going to start with the quietest, and I'm going to go all the way to the loudest and the most forceful, okay? You're going to know people like this in your organization. Nurturers, they are your people, relational oil. They don't like conflict. They have a natural intuition to understand how other people are going to react to an idea or a situation. They make up 43% of the population, and 70% of those are female. So think about that. That's a huge chunk of the population. And I can promise you that there are people on the other end of this spectrum, connectors, pioneers, that discredit the nurturers because they don't speak up, because they think that they don't really have anything valuable to say, or they just like grow a pair, right? Or they're just like, those people can't hold their own in the situation, right? They treat them like crybabies, and that's not the situation. They have a ton of value to bring. And they have, remember, that intuition for people. Creatives are your out-of-the-box thinkers, strategic, visionary types, kind of the canary in the mine. They can see things way off in the distance before other people. They also have a little bit of a hard time communicating, getting their thoughts out exactly how they are in their brain. So they're kind of quiet too because they have a ton of stuff going on up here. They are 9% of the population and are future-oriented people. Your nurturers are present-oriented. It's all about the here and now. How can I take care of you now? Creatives are thinking way off in the future. How can we crush this thing? How can we do an idea that nobody else has thought about? Guardians are 30% of the population. They're kind of middle of the road as far as volume. They're going to speak up because of principle. If something has to be right, then something has to be right. It has to be done this way because the rules say it has to be done this way. These are, when we talk about professions, these are some of your engineers. These are your lawyers. These are people that follow, guidelines and strict ways of doing types of things. If not, then things don't work, right? People die. There's people that are in these professions for a reason. They think this way. They're very present oriented. Again, they're all about preserving and guarding resources, money, time, all those things, right? They're about those resources. Now, the thing is with guardians and with nurturers, they have a real problem with the future-oriented people. There's conflict. The future-oriented people come in and spout off vision all day, and the nurturers and guardians are like freaking out. They're like, whoa, wait a second. What about this? What about this? So we have to be mindful of those types of individuals when we're in our group setting. Connectors are your people. They love people. Relational networks are their jam. Everybody from high school is still their best friend. They're the I got a guy person. Like if you're talking to them, they say, "Ooh, I got this guy. You got to talk to this guy. Ooh, let me connect you with this person," right? And then after that relationship goes really well. After you've connected with that person, it really helps you. You got to go back to that connector and say, "Man, thanks a lot for that connection. That was awesome." And the connector's always like, "I know, right? I know." Rock, right? The people that are like, "Oh, you got to try out this new sushi restaurant." Okay. They're always trying to help you achieve something, an aspiration of some kind. They're your social butterflies. That's why they're kind of next on the level of decibel level. 11% of the population, and they are future-oriented. Pioneers, these are your most forceful and most loud people in the room. They will come in and suck up all the oxygen. Super simple, super easy, right? They'll come in and just talk, because they've been strategically thinking about how to win for months. They go to bed thinking about strategy. They wake up thinking about strategy. They spend all day thinking about strategy, aligning people and systems and things to make us win. They are winners. They do not lose. They are there to make sure we are successful. And if that means that we have collateral damage along the way, then we have collateral damage along the way, right? Can you see the conflict? We've got pioneers that are there to win the war, and they're going to lose the battle. They're going to run over people, and they're going to bulldoze at certain times in order to get a certain thing done. Nurturers on the other end are going to be like, wow, that pioneer is a real jerk. Like, that sucks. You can't treat people that way. Connectors also don't necessarily like that at times. We have to understand, when we are communicating with our teams, not everybody thinks like you. If you're a pioneer, you're a winner, you're going to think, doesn't everybody want to win? Well, that's what I'm doing, right? But people are going to say, yeah, but we want to do it in a way that's ethical, in a way that treats people right. We have to understand our communication style is really important. And the way we want to be communicated with is not always going to be understood by everybody around us. There's a lot of room for sympathy, empathy, and understanding on this situation. So that's what I want you to think about when you're leading your teams. Principle number 3 is the power of the medium. This is about choosing the right medium for communicating effectively. Now, with remote teams, this has changed a little bit. This principle we use with all our trainings, but I'm going to show you a graph here. We cannot do the last thing that's the most effective. We cannot meet in person with COVID, right? Now things are loosening up a little bit. We can do that a little bit more now. But with remote work, somebody's in the other side of the world, somebody's on the other side of the country, whatever. We can't always be face to face. That is where we can bring the most challenge. Now, when we talk about challenge, what I'm talking about there is we all need to bring a certain level of support, and we all need to bring a certain level of challenge. Some of us, depending on what type of voice order you are, nurturer, creative, guardian, connector, pioneer, will be better at bringing support. Your nurturers, your connectors, your creative connectors, those people that are really relational are going to be really high support. I'm here for you, man. We can do this. If you need anything, I'm here. Let me know, right? But the challenge aspect comes hard for them because they don't want people to not like them. They don't want to ruffle feathers. So they're going to say, yeah, I'm not really good at bringing an effective challenge. So maybe I'll shoot a quick email, or I'll shoot a quick text message, or something like that, right? What happens when you get a text message about something that is not super comfortable, or an email? We've all had this happen. It gets misinterpreted. We're like, what? Like that? No, that's not what I did. And then we write something back really quick. And then we text something back really quick. There's a problem with texting and email. You hear no voice fluctuation. You don't hear expression. You don't hear emotion. You just see and read what you want, and you decipher what you want out of that text or that email. Social media is even worse. I'm not even going to go to social media. Do not get on social media to bring effective challenge to the people on your team. That is not the way you bring effective challenge. We need to bring it when we're remote through video. Yes, it takes a little extra time to set up a Zoom call, to schedule that meeting, to get online, right? I might even have to put a hat on, right? Because who does their hair anymore? So this is the thing I want you to think about when you're bringing effective challenge. When we can't meet the face-to-face, which is the most effective way to bring challenge, because then people can see us and interact. We can feel their energy. The next best thing is video. We got to understand that we need to see each other. We need to express things. When I have something that is bothering me about something my team member did, or about something that I think we can all do together, then I need to be able to bring effective challenge in a way that is fair to them, okay? And fair to me, that helps us breed effective communication. The phone call is the next level down from video chat, right? That way we can actually hear fluctuation, we can hear emotion and types of things, but still not the best, right? Still, that face-to-face is really what makes us human. It's really easy to get on social media and trash somebody. We see that all the time because we aren't dealing with a human. We're dealing with a device, right? So it's really easy to get confrontational on social media. Text message, a little bit easier. Email, a little bit easier. Phone calls, a little bit tougher to get super confrontational. Video chat is even tougher because now we're visualizing that human. Okay, we can see them. We have this human touch. In person is the best. Okay. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat. We're all good. Perfect. Okay. Principle number 4, and the last principle I want to teach you about today. And this deals with learning to manage your time better. This is a principle called 5 gears. I love this principle. And I want you to think about this. I use this in life. I use this with my family, and I use this with work. 5 gears is all about understanding how we work. Okay. So let's think about this. 5th gear is like go, 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 focus, 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 task-centered, fully focused, moving quickly. This is my door's closed. Don't talk to me. I turn my phone off. I turn my notifications off, and I'm hunkered down, doing my thing, making sure that I am focused on my tasks. I have to get this thing done. Don't bother me. Okay. Gear 5. Gear 4, multitasking. This is where a lot of us spend our day, working hard in various ways. We're checking email, our doors cracked open, people are popping in, right? We are working on a project. We're switching back over from screen to screen, doing multiple things. We're putting out fires. We're working with different teams. So gear 4 is task mode, and that's actually where we spend a lot of our time. Some of us are really good at that. Some of us are not. Okay. 3rd gear is kind of what we call water cooler talk. It's we're present with people, and we can shift up or down pretty easily at that point. We're in the break room. Hey, how was your weekend? Hey, how was that vacation? We get on a Zoom call and we spend the first 2 minutes seeing how everybody's doing, right? Social kind of breaking the ice, right? Kind of a little bit of social talk. Connection mode is 2nd gear. We're present with our family and our friends without work. 2nd gear is really important. 2nd gear is where we leave work at work. Okay. If we're working from home, like a lot of us are, then we are closing the door and we're shutting down. Okay. We're eating dinner with our family, watching a movie with our family, outside playing soccer, whatever, with our family. It's not, hold on, let me check this thing really quick. Oh, I got to check this thing really quick. Right. And the way that we use this in our family is which never happens, by the way, but if I'm ever guilty of checking my phone while we're watching a movie, then my kids come up to me and they say, hey, Dad, gear 2, Dad. And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. Put it away, right? They understand what gear 2 means. They don't understand what all the other gears necessarily mean, unless I teach them, but they really understand gear 2. Because they say, hey, gear 2, Dad. And I can even use it. My wife and I use it, and it's non-confrontational. It's a really common language that we can use together without getting defensive, right? And just say, hey, I'm calling you out, gear 2. Like we made it. This is family time, right? Number 1 is recharge time. This is personal recharge. Whatever you do to recharge, ride your bike, go for a walk, read a book, watch a movie, go talk to your neighbors, right? People consider socializing a bit of recharge. People that really love those connectors, that love those relational networks, they love, that's not hard for them. That's recharge for them, is that interaction. Now, sometimes we need reverse. Sometimes we need to back it up because we need to apologize. Be like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I know that we were doing that thing. We went out to dinner and I was totally in gear 4 mode and I just totally messed that up. I apologize, sweetheart. Right? Like that is really important. Now, how do we use this at work? How do we make this applicable to remote working? Because that's what we're here for, right? I encourage you to block out your time. There are people, like I said, that are really good at some of these and not really good at others. I'm really good at task mode. Okay. I can do task mode. I don't do connect mode very well. when people need to come and talk to me and really get down and the nitty gritty for like an hour on a phone call about something that's happening and trouble they're having, I'm going, oh man, I got to get that thing done. Oh, wait, what about that? Whoa, what, you know, so it's hard for me. And some people will be like, Scott, are you like here with me right now? You know, my brain's going. Okay. So it's really hard for me. So what I need to do is, number one, I understand I'm good at task mode. Number two, I need to block time on my calendar for Gear 5 mode because I know I have to get certain things done. So if I block time on my calendar, the rest of my team can say, oh yeah, Scott's in Gear 5. We don't need to bother him right now. Like, I'll shoot him a quick email. He can check it when he's ready, right? Like, that's Gear 5 mode. And I have to block that out for me or else I'll get distracted doing too many other things. I have to block out Gear 5 mode. I have to make sure that I shut off, that I'm intentionally in Gear 2 mode, and that I'm making time for Gear 1. I'm really good at Gear 1 too. I make time for myself. I recharge. I do the things that I need to do. Social mode. A lot of people that are, I'm going to say pioneers, people that are very strategic, go, 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 work, 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 win, 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 find social mode a waste of time. We'll get on a Zoom call as a team and people be like, so Nancy, how was last weekend? So how are you doing? And Guardians also have a hard time with this because they're task oriented, want to get the job done, productive. They'll go, oh gosh, this is such a waste of time. Nobody cares about what you did last weekend, right? But hold on a second, just because you don't care what they did last weekend doesn't mean there aren't a lot of people out there. Remember, 43% of the population are nurturers, okay? Then you've got another chunk, 11% that are connectors. That is 54, if I got my math right, percent of the population that really, really cares about connecting with people and that relational network. We can throw some of your creatives in there too. There are people that care. Make time for a little bit of Gear 3 so that you can be more effective as a team. Building relationships, building communication, getting work done, and being productive. Okay, that's 5 gears. Now there's a deeper dive into this. This is pretty high level. But what I want to show you is this flywheel. This flywheel is the way we break down team performance. Number one, we start with communication. Okay, and that goes into 5 voices. Then we talk about relationships. And then we talk about alignment and execution and capacity. A lot of companies and a lot of leaders and a lot of different people out there tend to say, storm in a room, right? Your boss, executive, team, whatever, storms in a room, says, let's get on the same page and get it done. Why can't we all just get on the same page and get it done, everybody? Right? They focus on number 3, alignment, and they focus on number 4, execution, without building the relationships and the communication first. Okay. They're bringing a lot of challenge. They're bringing alignment and execution. Get on the same page, get it done without high support, communication, relationships. Hey, I'm here for you. Let's build trust. You know what, I'm here to support whatever you need, but I also need you to get it done and get on the same page, right? Once I feel trusted by you, I will be able to make more progress in that thing that you're asking me to do. That in turn will increase capacity. Now, what we do is I ask you, you can do this on a platform I'll show you in just a second, but if we look at let me go back to the private chat. Sorry. If we look at communication, what's the grade you would give yourself in communication? What's the grade you'll give yourself in relationships? What's the performance grade you'll give yourself on alignment? So out of 1 to 100%, how would you grade yourself in each one of these sectors? Then then take the average, and that's your overall team performance. You can use that as a baseline right now, and then measure it again in 6 months after you've implemented some of these things, okay? And see how that helps you progress over time. So I've talked about 4 tools, right? Inhibition versus prohibition and 5 voices, kind of work in that communication relationship spot. The power of the medium, how we communicate and bring healthy challenge, is relationships and alignment. And then the 5 gears is all about execution and increasing our capacity to do more work and be more effective in doing that. So tools. I'm not going to go too deep into the tools right now. Sorry, my thing is reloading here. Let me make sure I'm all. Is everybody okay? Jonathan, are we still streaming?
Everything's still good?
Okay, good. Sorry, it was just my iPad then that conked out. So the tools, I'm not going to go too deep into these. We've learned a lot about these. We've heard a lot about these. I'm just going to touch on them really quick as tools that we use over at Multiple and my team. We use Zoom as one of our tools. I think a lot of people are using Zoom. Some people are probably annoyed with Zoom, or we have Zoom fatigue right now, but a lot of people are using Zoom. Slack is another tool that we use for team communication, real-time texting, I guess to say. We can organize projects, we can organize tasks a little bit through Slack. But Slack is a really good tool to use when you don't need to send emails and document emails every second. It's a way to just have a quick conversation, and you can make it a little bit fun. We use G Suite a lot. Live editing of documents. We can collaborate as a team in one document together, and it's easily accessible. Asana is our project management tool. There are a lot of project management tools out there. I'm sure you know of. I'm sure you use your own. But Asana is a really affordable option for us, and we use that. It's very powerful. And Miro is an interesting tool that you may not have heard about. It is a whiteboarding tool. If any of you are whiteboard nerds that love to go and just draw, sketch, collaborate through a whiteboard, check out Miro. Miro is a way for you in real time to get on, and they have different templates you can use for processes, brain, mind maps, things like that you can brainstorm together and do different things. So I'm going to give you a few resources here for free. These is you can get access to a free remote training. Okay. If you put in giant.tv/remote/30 days, you'll get 30 days free of this platform. I'll go into this a little bit more, but this remote training specifically is really short. Look, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 9 minutes, these little videos will go a little bit into what I've been talking to you about, but also expand a little bit by Jeremy Kubicek, who is one of the founders of Giant. What I want you to do after you've logged on to this is you can click that little red button in the right-hand corner, and you can look at, click the assessments. That's going to pull up a navigation. Click on assessments, and you can take the 5 voices assessment. If you're an assessment junkie, if you love those types of things and understanding what you want to say and how you want to communicate more effectively with those people around you, then take this assessment. It takes about 15 minutes and learn your voice order. It'll give you some insights on that. And then you can use Giant TV. If you go to the media section, remember clicking that little red button for the navigation, go to the media section, and you can find an entire library full of videos. We call this kind of the Netflix meets Peloton for people development, scalable people development. Because no longer is training just for the C-suite, just for the executives or the leadership. It's for everybody. And that's why this platform exists. So you can go on, anybody can go on. Like I said, you'll get 30 days for free. And you can check out this 5 Gears Masterclass, which is going to go a deeper dive into that 5 Gears principle I just taught you about. You can also scroll down and look at how do you liberate other voices? How do you really help other voices in your group, in your team, feel successful and accomplished? Then you scroll down further, and for your particular voice order, you can find your library. So if I, in particular, am a creative connector pioneer, I can click on that, and there are 16 little micro videos in there all about my particular voice order. And you can find out more about that by going to that link. So at the end here, I want you to ask yourself a question. How much is your reputation as a leader worth? How much is your reputation as a team member worth? How much is your reputation as a person worth? And I'm going to bring that back. How much is your brand worth? Because that's what it is. Your brand is the most essential and important intangible asset that you possess. You need to control it. You need to shape it. And you can only do that through intentional learning and through intentional effort through various tools. I want you to invest in yourself. By investing in yourself, you'll be able to invest more in your team. You cannot give what you do not possess. You can only give what you possess, right? If I possess self-awareness, you can help others increase their own self-awareness. right? We need to possess the things that we want to give to others around us. I'm really grateful. Thank you for attending this webinar. I think we're going to have a Q&A. In the meantime, I have some freebies for you. Those assessments, I have a link to Giant TV. I have some other freebie tools in there that will help you with remote working and understanding a little bit more about communication. What I want you to do is, if you can pull out your phones and text the word culture brand, that's one word, okay? Your phone might try to autocorrect it. Don't let it. Culture brand, one word, to 31996, and you'll immediately get an email that has those freebies included in there. So that's it. I hope this was helpful to you. Remote working is not going away. Empower yourself, empower your team, and learn how to do it more effectively. So that's it. Jonathan, I would love if we can dive into some questions if there's any out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Scott. Thank you for the great presentation. Folks, we have some time for questions, so go ahead and ask them in the comment section, and we'll load them onto the screen for Scott to answer. So, Scott, here's the first question.
Sorry, Jonathan. Let me, did you post up the question?
Yes.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Gotcha. It's on my screen. Okay. In your experience, what's the biggest hurdles for companies going remote? Remote teams, I think, have a particular struggle. It depends, right? I'm going to say it depends. You know that answer, right? With certain individuals, remote is going to be very difficult. People that value people connections, that want hugs, that want fist bumps, right? That want to be in a room and interact with people. They're your connectors, your nurturers, your creative connectors that really value that human interaction, that will really be missing this. They're the ones that you need to take special care of. They need to remain healthy so they can perform their jobs. So for you as a leader, understanding who is on your team, how your team's made up, and what drives them, I think is one of the biggest challenges of remote working. When we used to just be in an office and we kind of understood, and this is how we are, and this is the way we work, we could all do our separate things. I think it's really the struggle of diving deep into the other people around us and understand what makes them tick. That way, we can understand how they like to be communicated with. And then we can bring effective challenge. Then we can bring effective support. Then we can bring effective training, right? All the different things that they need. But first, it's understanding our team and who is out there, because different people need different things. And that's, I think, one of the challenges there. Which tool provide complete security? I'm gonna guess you're talking about webinar tools, maybe, or I guess tools like Zoom. I know Zoom's had a lot of updates and they've had a lot of security things going on because of all of this. And if that's not correct, then please correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here. But Zoom, I feel, has really ratcheted down on their security. I could be wrong, but that's the tool I use. That's the tool I know that a lot of other people have used. The CDC, I'm actually coaching the CDC right now on various components of 5 Voices and leadership development and culture and employee engagement. And the CDC uses Zoom. So if the CDC is using it, I would assume it's pretty secure. So that's what I'd have to say there. How can you encourage others to be healthily present without confrontation when cell phones are so omnipresent in our lives? I don't think this is necessarily a remote work issue. I think this is an issue all the time in our personal lives and in our professional ones. I think it's, at times I teach at church, I teach a group of teenagers. sometimes. And you know what? I tell everybody to put their phones in their pockets and to shut them off. And, I think we're in a world now where that everybody understands why you're doing that, right? And that everybody understands that they're an interruption. And I think it's also valuable to understand that our phones are valuable tools for us. So maybe it's also hey, let's take a 5-minute break. Everybody go check your phones, emails, do what you need to do, and we'll be back, right? More frequent breaks to help with that culture. But I think that is a problem, right? Remaining present is really important for people as far as human interaction is concerned. All right, which of the 5 things you mentioned can have the biggest impact on team performance? Whoa, man, that's a tough one. We all want more capacity, right? So the 5 things I talked about. Wait, Daryl, I'm gonna go through the performance flywheel, right? Of communication, relationships, alignment, execution, and capacity. I'm going to assume those are the 5 things you're talking about. There are 4 principles. Maybe you're talking about the 4 principles. I'm talking about the five things. I think you need all of them. Remember, if one of them is ultimately super strong on a flywheel, your flywheel is going to be wobbly when it's spinning. I think you need all of them in order to increase capacity. I do another presentation specifically on that flywheel, and it talks about the tools for each one of those. But capacity, we all want more capacity, more time, more money, more resources. If we had more time, more money, more resources, we could get more stuff done. That's not always the case. How can you increase capacity with the resources you have? By having better communication, building better relationships, right? Trust, loyalty comes in that. Being better aligned, executing more effectively, and therefore increasing capacity to do more with less, right? It's all about those efficiencies. Now, which one of those 4 principles, I'll answer the second, if you did mean the 4 principles, do I think impact team performance the most? Ultimately, I think 5 voices is the foundation of everything. 5 voices is going to drive everything you do. That understanding of people on your team and how to relate with them and communicate with them is going to be invaluable going forward. Now, you can't just know, right? You have to actually do. You have to implement and put into action and be intentional about your communication with others. And that only goes through growth and learning. And you can do all that on Giant TV. You can go through your 5 voices assessment and then really take trainings on there that are specific for you. Super easy. So.
All right, I think that's it for questions. Thank you so much again, Scott, for joining us today.
Awesome, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. And thanks for all the comments in the chat. I really appreciate you guys for being here. It looks like it was providing some value to you, and I hope you're able to grow. Crush those remote teams. Work at it. It's going to take some time, but you guys can do it. I know you can. Learn how to communicate effectively, and it'll go by really, really well.
Yes, and if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to Scott. We've provided his contact information. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Check back daily on our social media for updates on future webinars, and we hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.